Let me tell you about a night that changed two lives forever. A night when one simple act of kindness became something nobody could have predicted. Picture this. It's pouring rain, the kind that makes you question if you should even be on the road. The windshield wipers are working overtime, squeaking back and forth, barely keeping up with the storm. Behind the wheel sits a woman named Patricia Reynolds. Everyone calls her Patty. She's exhausted, wearing her faded blue waitress uniform that still smells like coffee and grease from the long shift she just finished. Her old pickup truck rattles as she drives, and all she can think about is getting home, taking off these worn-out shoes, and maybe, just maybe, getting some rest before it all starts again tomorrow. Patty isn't rich. Far from it. She lives paycheck to paycheck, picking up every extra shift she can at the diner downtown. Her apartment is small, barely enough room to turn around in, but it's hers. She works hard for what little she has, and she doesn't complain. That's just who Patty is. Quiet strength wrapped in a gentle smile. But tonight, something happens that will test everything she believes in. As she's driving down that dark, empty road, her headlights catch something unusual. There, on the side of the highway, is an expensive-looking car. Even through the sheets of rain, Patty can tell it's the kind of vehicle she'll never own. One of those sleek silver sedans that probably costs more than she makes in 5 years. The hood is popped open, and steam is rising into the stormy night air like a distress signal nobody's answering. And there, standing next to the car, is an elderly man. He's white-haired, wearing what looks like an expensive suit that's now completely soaked through. No umbrella, no raincoat. Just a man in trouble, holding onto the side of his car like it's the only solid thing left in the world. He's holding his phone up, turning in circles, clearly searching for a signal that isn't coming. Patty slows down. Her first instinct, if she's being honest, is to keep driving. It's late. She's a woman alone. She doesn't know this man. The reasonable thing, the safe thing, would be to call for help once she gets somewhere with better reception and keep moving. But then she sees the way his shoulders are shaking. Not just from the cold, but from something else. Maybe fear. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe the weight of being completely alone on a night like this. And Patty can't do it. She can't just drive past someone who needs help, no matter how tired she is, no matter how much her common sense is screaming at her to think of herself for once. She pulls over. The rain hammers against her truck as she rolls down her window halfway, just enough to call out over the storm. "You alright out there?" Her voice cuts through the downpour. The man turns, surprised that anyone stopped. He looks at her truck, at her face barely visible in the darkness, and for a moment, they're both just strangers trying to figure out if they can trust each other. "My car died," he calls back, his voice tired and strained. "I can't get a signal. I think I took a wrong turn about 10 miles back." Patty makes a decision. She reaches over and unlocks the passenger door, leaning toward the window. "You'll catch your death out here. Get in before you freeze." The man hesitates. She can see it in his eyes, that same calculation she just went through. Should he trust the stranger? But the rain is relentless, and sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. He opens the door and climbs inside, bringing the smell of wet wool and cologne into her small truck. Water drips off him onto the old cloth seats, but Patty doesn't say a word about it. She cranks up the heater, even though it barely works, and the weak, warm air starts filling the cab with a gentle hum. "You didn't have to stop," the man says quietly, still catching his breath. Patty shrugs as she pulls back onto the road, her eyes focused on the dark highway ahead. Couldn't just leave somebody's grandfather melting in a storm. Wouldn't be right. That gets a small laugh from him, the kind that sounds like it surprised even him. "I'm William," he says. "William Foster." "Patty," she responds simply. She doesn't ask what he does or why he's out here. She just drives. William explains he's a real estate developer. He'd been at a late meeting on the other side of the county, trying to finalize some big property deal, when the storm caught him. His car, despite costing more than most people's houses, decided tonight was the night to give up on him. No warning. Just dead on the side of the road. Patty listens but doesn't pry. She's not the nosy type. She just focuses on getting them both somewhere safe and dry. The rain drums on the roof like 1,000 tiny fingers tapping, and the headlights sweep across wet trees and empty road. There's something almost peaceful about it, despite everything. Two strangers, brought together by chance and circumstance, finding a moment of quiet in the chaos. Eventually, she pulls into her neighborhood. It's not fancy. The apartment buildings are old, the paint is peeling, and the streetlights flicker like they're barely hanging on. But it's home. Patty parks and leads William up the narrow stairs to her door. Inside her tiny one-room apartment, everything is neat but worn. The furniture has seen better days, but it's clean. The radiator clanks and hisses in the corner, putting out just enough heat to take the edge off the cold. Patty hands William a towel, one of her only two, and makes him a cup of instant soup from a packet. It's not gourmet, but it's warm, and right now, that's what matters. Take the couch, she tells him, pulling out her only blanket and handing it over. William protests. I can't take your blanket. Where will you sleep? I'll be fine, Patty insists, her tone leaving no room for argument. You need it more than I do. So William settles onto her small couch, wrapped in that thin blanket, and within minutes, exhaustion takes over. He falls asleep to the sound of rain finally starting to ease up outside. Patty sits by the window, looking out at her neighborhood. The streetlight below flickers on and off, casting strange shadows across the wet pavement. She sees her own reflection in the glass, tired eyes and messy hair, still wearing that diner uniform. She thinks about the bills piling up on her tiny kitchen counter, about the extra shift she's supposed to work tomorrow, about how hard everything always seems. But she also feels something else. Something warm and quiet in her chest. She did the right thing tonight. She's sure of it. When you see someone who needs help, you help them. That's just how it should be, even when you don't have much yourself. Maybe especially then. As the first hints of dawn start creeping into the sky, Patty quietly gets ready for work. She moves carefully, trying not to wake William. When she glances at the couch one last time before leaving, she sees he's folded the blanket neatly and left a small note on her table. She picks it up and reads the simple words, "Thank you for seeing me as a person when I was just a stranger in the rain." Patty smiles softly, folds the note, and tucks it into her uniform pocket. Then she heads out into the gray morning, the streets still slick with last night's storm. She has no idea that the man she just helped will walk back into her life very soon. And when he does, everything she knows will turn upside down. The morning feels heavy and cold when Patty rushes through the diner doors. She's late. Not by much, maybe 10 minutes, but late is late, and her manager doesn't forgive anything. Her shoes squeak on the checkered floor as she hurries to the back, her hair still damp from the morning drizzle, her breath quick from running up the hill. The diner smells like it always does, frying bacon, burnt coffee, and that underlying scent of grease that never quite leaves no matter how much they clean. It's a familiar smell, one that usually brings Patty some comfort because it means work, and work means she can pay rent this month. But today, something feels different. The air is tense, tight, like everyone's holding their breath. Behind the counter stands Gerald Mitchell, the manager. Everyone just calls him Mr. Mitchell, even though he's barely 40. He's got his sleeves rolled up like he's been working hard all morning, and his voice is already raised before Patty even has a chance to put her bag down. "Reynolds," he barks, loud enough that every customer in the place can hear. "You think time just stops and waits for you?" His voice drips with contempt, the kind that makes your stomach twist. Patty swallows hard, keeps her eyes down, trying to stay calm. "I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell. I had to." "Save it," he snaps, slamming a receipt pad on the counter so hard it makes the coffee cups rattle. "We got a packed house this morning, and you waltz in here like you're doing us some kind of favor. Like your time is more valuable than everyone else's." A few customers turn to watch. The young cook, Tommy, freezes at the grill, spatula in midair. The other waitress, Lisa, stops pouring coffee and glances nervously between Patty and Mr. Mitchell. The whole diner goes quiet, and you can feel everyone's discomfort pressing down like a weight. Patty tries again, her voice gentle and measured. "Sir, I understand I'm late. But there was an elderly man stranded last night in a storm. His car broke down, and Mr. Mitchell waves his hand dismissively, cutting her off mid-sentence. You think good deeds pay your bills? You think kindness puts food on the table? I don't care what you were doing. You were late. That's all that matters to me. He turns to face the customers, making a show of it, his voice rising even more. If any of you folks want to show up late to your jobs too, maybe you can follow her example and see how that works out for you. A few people chuckle uncomfortably. Others look away, pretending to be very interested in their pancakes. Patty feels her chest tighten, feels the heat rising to her face. For years. She's worked at this diner for 4 years. She's covered shifts for people when they were sick. She's stayed late to help close when they were short-staffed. She's treated every customer with respect and every coworker with kindness. And this is what it comes down to. 10 minutes late one time for trying to help someone? Please, Mr. Mitchell, she says, and she hates how small her voice sounds. You know I've never been late before. You know I work hard. Not hard enough, he says coldly. Then he points toward the door, his arms stretched out like he's pointing at her exit from his life. You're done. Hand over your apron. I don't need excuses in my diner. I need people I can count on. The silence that follows is crushing. Even the sizzle from the grill seems to quiet down. Patty's hands tremble as she reaches up and unties her apron, the same blue apron she's worn for 4 years. She folds it carefully, methodically, refusing to let him see her break down, refusing to give him that satisfaction. She lays the apron on the counter, smooth and neat, and for just a second, she looks Mr. Mitchell right in the eyes. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. Her dignity speaks louder than any words could. As she turns and walks toward the door, she hears a woman in one of the booths whisper to her friend, "That poor thing. She's the sweetest girl here. This isn't right." But nobody stands up. Nobody speaks out. They all just watch as Patty pushes through the door, and the little bell above it jingles one last time, marking her exit. Outside, the drizzle has picked up again. Not a full storm like last night, but enough to make everything feel gray and cold and miserable. Patty pulls her thin jacket tighter around herself and starts walking. She doesn't know where she's going. Just away. Away from the humiliation. Away from the stares. Away from the place she thought valued her. Back inside the diner, Mr. Mitchell straightens his tie and smirks to himself. Perfect timing, he mutters under his breath. Owner's finally visiting today. Last thing I need is someone like her making this place look unprofessional. What Mr. Mitchell doesn't see is the silver sedan that's been parked across the street for the past 10 minutes. What he doesn't know is that inside that car, William Foster has been watching everything through the diner's big front windows. He saw Patty walk in late. He saw the manager's rage. He heard the cruel words, even from across the street. And now he watches as Patty walks away in the rain, her shoulders hunched against the cold. On the passenger seat beside him sits the note she left for him, the one thanking him for his kindness. William picks it up, reads it again, and his jaw clenches. His eyes move back to the diner, to that flickering neon sign, to the manager inside who's already moved on to barking orders at someone else. So this is where she works, William says quietly to himself. He adjusts his tie, takes a deep breath, and reaches for his phone. He makes one call. Short and direct. Then he starts the car and drives off, but not away. He's heading somewhere specific. Somewhere he needs to be. Because what's about to happen next will change everything. For Patty. For Mr. Mitchell. For everyone in that diner. Sometimes justice moves slowly. But sometimes, just sometimes, it arrives exactly when it's needed most. By noon, the rain has stopped and sunlight breaks through the clouds like a promise. Inside the diner, there's a buzz of nervous energy. The coffee smells fresher, the floors shine a little brighter, and Mr. Mitchell is practically bouncing on his heels, checking his reflection in the chrome napkin dispensers for the 10th time. Today is the day. The day the owner finally visits. Nobody at the diner has ever met the owner. The place has been running for years under management, with paychecks signed by some distant corporate name nobody can pronounce. There have been rumors, of course. Some say the owner is a retired businessman who bought the place on a whim. Others say it's some investment group that owns half the city. But nobody knows for sure. What they do know is that today, finally, they'll get to meet the person who signs their paychecks. Mr. Mitchell has been preparing for weeks. He's made the staff scrub every corner, memorize the specials, smile until their faces hurt. He's put on his best shirt, the one without any stains, and he's been practicing what he'll say. How he'll present himself as the model manager, the one who keeps everything running smoothly, the one who makes tough decisions for the good of the business. At exactly noon, the door opens. The little bell chimes, and every head in the diner turns toward the sound. A tall man steps inside. Silver hair, perfectly styled. Dark coat, tailored and expensive. Polished shoes that click softly on the clean floor. But it's not the clothes that command attention. It's something else. The way he carries himself. The quiet confidence. The kind of presence that makes people sit up straighter without even realizing they're doing it. The entire diner goes quiet. Tommy drops a spatula at the grill and fumbles to pick it up. Lisa freezes with a coffee pot halfway to a customer's cup. Even the customers seem to sense something important is happening. Mr. Mitchell practically leaps forward, his face splitting into the widest smile anyone's ever seen on him. "Mr. Foster. Welcome, sir. What an honor to finally meet you." His voice is high-pitched, overly enthusiastic, dripping with false charm. William Foster, the owner. The man who built his fortune developing properties across 3 states. The man whose name is on buildings downtown. The man who, according to the business papers, is worth more money than most people can imagine. And the same man who spent last night on Patty Reynolds' couch, wrapped in her only blanket, drinking instant soup from a paper cup. William scans the diner slowly, his eyes moving across every detail. The booths, the counter, the staff nervously trying not to stare. He takes it all in with the careful assessment of someone who knows exactly what he's looking for. "Everything is running perfectly, sir," Mr. Mitchell gushes, following William's gaze. "Clean, efficient, profitable. Just like you'd want it. I run a very tight ship here." William's expression remains neutral, unreadable. Then, quietly, he asks, "Where's the young woman from last night?" Mr. Mitchell blinks, confused. "Sir? Patricia Reynolds," William says again, his voice steady. "The waitress who worked here yesterday morning." The color starts draining from Mr. Mitchell's face, but he forces a laugh.
"Oh, her.
"Well, I'm afraid I had to let her go, sir. Always late. Poor work ethic. Not the kind of person you'd want representing your establishment." The silence that follows is sharp enough to cut. William turns slowly toward Tommy at the grill. "Is that true?" he asks. "Was she always late?" Tommy looks at his shoes, then at Mr. Mitchell, then back at his shoes. His voice comes out quiet but firm.
"No, sir.
Miss Patty was the best worker we had. Never late. Never complained. Always helped everyone." Mr. Mitchell's smile cracks. "People exaggerate, sir. I assure you, I made the right call for the business." "You fired her this morning?" William interrupts, his voice still calm, but there's steel underneath now. "Yes, sir. For cause." William nods slowly, like he's processing information. Then he says simply, "Call her back. Right now." Mr. Mitchell's face goes from pink to white. "Sir, that's really not necessary. I can assure you. I said call her back." William's tone hasn't changed, but the authority in it is unmistakable. This isn't a request. It's not even a suggestion. It's an order. The room is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Even the coffee maker seems to have stopped gurgling. Mr. Mitchell fumbles for his phone, his hands shaking. 5 minutes feel like 5 hours as everyone waits. Finally, the bell above the door chimes again. Patty walks in, still wearing her wrinkled uniform from this morning, her eyes puffy like she's been crying but trying hard not to show it. She's confused, wary, expecting maybe another humiliation, another lecture. Every pair of eyes in the diner turns to watch her. Then she sees him. William Foster. The man from last night. The man she gave her blanket to. The man she made soup for. And suddenly, none of this makes sense. William's stern expression softens the moment he sees her. "Miss Reynolds," he says, and his voice is warm now, gentle. "You helped me last night when my car broke down in that storm. You didn't ask who I was. You didn't ask for anything in return. You just saw another human being who needed help, and you gave it without a second thought." Whispers ripple through the diner like a wave. Tommy's mouth falls open. Lisa gasps. The customers lean forward, not wanting to miss a single word. "You showed me what real character looks like," William continues. "You showed me what this place should stand for. So, I'm making a decision right now. Patricia Reynolds, you're not just coming back to work here. You're my new co-manager. Effective immediately." The diner erupts. Not in cheers exactly, but in shocked murmurs and stunned faces. Mr. Mitchell looks like he might faint. His face goes through about 5 different shades of red and white. "You can't be serious," he sputters. I'm very serious," William says, turning to face him fully now. "You wanted to impress me, Mr. Mitchell. Congratulations. You showed me exactly who you are. You humiliated a good person for being kind to someone in need. You valued punctuality over character. You treated one of your best workers like garbage in front of a room full of people. That's not the kind of management I want in my business." Patty stands frozen, tears streaming down her face now, unable to speak. Her hands cover her mouth and she's shaking, but this time it's not from fear or humiliation. It's from relief, from vindication, from the overwhelming feeling that maybe, just maybe, good things can happen to good people. The staff starts clapping. Quietly at first, then louder. Tommy's grinning ear to ear. Lisa's crying too. Even some of the customers join in, moved by what they've just witnessed. William walks over to Patty and extends his hand. "You gave me kindness when I was just a stranger in the rain," he says softly, so only she can hear. "Now let me give you the respect and opportunity you deserve." Patty takes his hand, and for the first time in what feels like forever, she smiles. A real smile. The kind that reaches your eyes and makes your whole face light up. Outside, the sun breaks through the last of the clouds, sending golden light streaming through the diner windows. The neon sign flickers to life, brighter than before. And inside, everything has changed. Because sometimes when you do the right thing, even when it's hard, even when nobody's watching, the universe has a way of noticing. And sometimes, just sometimes, it pays you back in ways you never imagined. Weeks pass, and the diner transforms. Under Patty's quiet leadership, everything runs smoother than it ever has. The morning rush feels less frantic. The coffee tastes better, or maybe people just notice it more now. Regular customers linger longer, chatting with Patty as she makes her rounds, and the tips in the jar grow heavier each week. William Foster visits often, though not as the stern owner conducting inspections. He comes as someone proud of what they've built together. He sits in his usual corner booth, drinks his coffee, and watches Patty work with a small smile on his face. The press has even caught wind of the story, calling it a modern fairy tale. Local newspapers run headlines like "From Fired to Hired," "One Woman's Journey," and "Kindness Rewarded," the diner that changed everything. But not everyone is celebrating. Gerald Mitchell still works at the diner. William didn't fire him, though many thought he should have. Instead, he was demoted. He works the register now, taking orders, handling complaints, doing the job he once made others do while he barked orders from behind them. He's no longer the manager. He's just another employee, answering to Patty, the woman he humiliated in front of everyone. At first, he pretends it's fine. He shows up on time, does his work, keeps his mouth shut. But if you watch closely, you can see it eating at him. The way his jaw clenches when Patty walks by. The way his eyes follow her, sharp and resentful. The way he stays late, pacing the empty diner after everyone else has gone home, muttering to himself. He can't let it go. The embarrassment.
The shame.
The fact that the woman he considered beneath him now signs his paychecks. It festers inside him like an infection, growing darker and more poisonous with each passing day. Then, one evening, Patty notices something wrong. She's doing the nightly count, balancing the registers like she does every closing shift. The numbers don't add up. She counts again, then again. $50 short. Not a huge amount, but enough to matter. Enough to be concerning. She triple-checks her math, goes through every receipt, every transaction. There's no mistake on her end. The money is just gone. Patty doesn't want to believe it's theft. Maybe someone made an honest error. Maybe she miscounted after all. So she doesn't say anything to anyone. She just makes a note and decides to watch more carefully going forward. But it happens again. 3 days later, $70 missing from a different register. Then 50 more the week after that. Always small amounts. Always from the drawers Patty is responsible for. Always when she steps away for deliveries or to help in the kitchen. The pattern is too deliberate to ignore. Patty stays late one night, sitting alone in the empty diner, staring at the numbers in her ledger. Her stomach twists with worry.
She knows what this looks like.
It looks like she's stealing. Like she's betraying William's trust. Like everything Mr. Mitchell said about her might have been true after all. She can't let this continue. She won't. The next morning, she goes directly to William. He's in his office above the diner, surrounded by blueprints and property documents. When Patty walks in, he can see the distress written all over her face. "What's wrong?" he asks immediately, setting down his pen. "Money's been going missing," Patty says quietly. "From my registers. I've checked and rechecked every count. It's deliberate. Someone's trying to make it look like I'm stealing." William leans back in his chair, studying her face. "Do you have any guesses who?" Patty hesitates. She doesn't want to accuse anyone without proof. "None I can prove," she finally says. William nods, his expression serious. "Then we'll find proof." That evening, after the diner closes, William brings in a man in plain clothes. He's quiet, professional, and carries a small black case. A private investigator. He installs tiny cameras near the registers, so small you'd never notice them unless you knew they were there. Nobody in the diner knows except William and Patty. For the next few days, Patty works as usual. She smiles at customers, trains new staff, handles the rush with calm efficiency. But underneath, she's anxious. The cameras are watching. Someone in this diner is trying to destroy her, and soon, they'll reveal themselves. Mr. Mitchell notices nothing. Or if he does, he doesn't show it. He works the register, takes orders, and keeps that same thin smile plastered on his face. But his eyes still follow Patty. Still watch and wait. Then, on a rainy Tuesday evening, it happens. Patty leaves early to handle a food delivery at the back entrance. The diner is quiet, just a few customers finishing their meals. Mr. Mitchell is alone at the front register. The camera catches everything. He glances around, confirming everyone is distracted. Then he opens Patty's register, the one she used all morning. His hand reaches in, smooth and practiced, and pulls out a stack of bills. He doesn't even count them. He just slips them into his pocket, then reaches for Patty's count slip and replaces it with one he had prepared earlier, one that shows a shortage. And then he smiles. Actually smiles. He leans close to the register and whispers, just loud enough for the camera's microphone to pick up, "Let's see you explain your way out of this one." The next morning, William calls a full staff meeting. Everyone gathers around, confused. This isn't normal. Tommy's worried he did something wrong. Lisa thinks maybe there's bad news about the business. Patty stands near the back, her heart pounding. The private investigator sets a small laptop on the counter. He presses play. The footage rolls. Crystal clear. Mr. Mitchell looking around, opening the drawer, taking the money, smiling, whispering his cruel words. The silence that follows is suffocating. Mr. Mitchell's face goes from tan to pale in seconds. That's edited," he stammers, his voice cracking. "She set me up. This is fake. It has to be." Patty doesn't move, doesn't speak. She just watches him fall apart. William's voice cuts through the panic like a blade. It's not loud, but it's cold. Colder than anyone's ever heard him. You framed the one person who saved me. You tried to destroy her reputation in my business. You made this place toxic because your pride couldn't handle being held accountable. Two police officers stepped through the front door. They've been waiting outside. William had called them before the meeting even started. The handcuffs click around Mr. Mitchell's wrists before he can say another word. He starts shouting, cursing, making accusations. But nobody looks at him. The staff stares at the floor. The few customers present turn away. Even the officers look embarrassed for him. As they lead him out, his voice fades into the street, swallowed by the morning traffic. The diner stays quiet for a long time after he's gone. People slowly go back to work, but the mood is heavy. Not sad, exactly. More like relieved. Like a weight has been lifted that everyone had been carrying without realizing it. That night, after closing, William approaches Patty as she's wiping down tables. "You handled that with more grace than most people could have," he says softly. Patty shrugs, squeezing out her rag into the bucket. "I learned something that night in the rain," she says, looking up at him. "Some storms you have to stand through. Others just pass on their own. I guess I've learned to tell the difference." William smiles, a real one this time, and nods. "Your mother would be proud of you." Patty's eyes well up, but she blinks the tears away. "I hope so." Outside, the neon sign flickers against the wet street. But this time, somehow, its reflection looks cleaner, brighter, like the rain washed away more than just dirt. 6 months later, the diner looks like a completely different place. The windows gleam, catching the morning sunlight and throwing it back in warm golden streaks across the sidewalk. There's a new sign above the door, hand-painted in cheerful letters, "Second Chances Cafe." And underneath, in smaller script, "Where kindness is always on the menu." People come from all over the city now. Not just for the food, though the food is better than ever. They come for the story. The story about a waitress who helped a stranger in a storm and changed both their lives forever. They come because this place represents something bigger than breakfast and coffee. It represents hope. Second chances. The idea that doing the right thing matters, even when nobody's watching. Inside, the air is warm and filled with the comfortable hum of conversation. The smell of fresh coffee mingles with cinnamon rolls baking in the kitchen. Every booth is full, every stool at the counter occupied. But it never feels rushed or chaotic. Patty moves through the room with calm confidence, a clipboard tucked under her arm, offering smiles and checking in with customers. The staff works smoothly under her direction, and you can tell they're not just employees. They're a team. They're proud to be here. William Foster sits in his usual corner booth, reading the newspaper, but mostly just watching Patty work. He does this often now, coming in a few times a week, not to supervise but simply to be part of something good. Something real. The press had a field day with the story months ago. Local news stations, then regional ones, then even a few national outlets picked it up. The waitress who saved a billionaire, they called it. Kindness rewarded. A modern fairy tale. They interviewed Patty, and she blushed through the whole thing, insisting she didn't do anything special. She just did what anyone should do. But the reporter had asked William what made him decide to give her half ownership of the diner. He'd thought about it for a moment, then said simply, "She gave me kindness when she had nothing." That kind of character is worth more than any business degree or years of experience. That's who you want building something with you. Tonight is special, though. William has called everyone together after closing. The staff exchanges curious glances as they gather around, wondering what this is about. Has something gone wrong? Is the business in trouble? William stands up, and the room goes quiet. He's not wearing his usual business suit. Tonight, he's in jeans and a simple sweater, looking more like someone's favorite grandfather than a real estate mogul worth millions. "We built this place on something simple," he begins, his voice carrying easily through the quiet diner. "On the idea that kindness matters. That how you treat people when nobody's watching says everything about who you are." Patty reminded me of that on a night I'd almost forgotten what it meant. She didn't see a rich man or a business opportunity. She saw a person who needed help. That's rare. That's valuable. He pauses, looking at Patty, who's standing near the counter, nervously twisting a dish towel in her hands. Today, I'm making it official.
Patty, you're not just co-manager anymore.
You're my full partner. 50-50. This place is as much yours as it is mine. The staff erupts in applause. Tommy's whooping from the kitchen. Lisa's crying happy tears. Patty just stands there, overwhelmed, her hand covering her mouth. William walks over and hands her an envelope. Inside are legal documents, freshly signed and notarized, confirming full partnership in Second Chances Cafe. Her name, right next to his. Equal. You've earned every bit of this, William says quietly, just for her. You took a broken place and made it a home. You took broken people and gave them purpose. That's not management. That's leadership. Patty can't speak. She just nods, tears streaming down her face, and pulls William into a hug. The staff cheers louder. Later, after the celebration winds down and the lights dim, Patty steps outside for some air. The night is cool and clear, stars visible despite the city lights. She leans against the brick wall, just breathing, letting everything sink in. Across the street, under the flickering neon sign of a car wash, she notices a familiar figure. He's wearing a blue uniform, scrubbing the windshield of a sedan, his movements slow and methodical. Even from this distance, even in the dim light, she recognizes him. Gerald Mitchell. For a long moment, Patty just watches. She thinks about everything he put her through. The humiliation, the fear, the attempt to destroy her reputation and steal her future. She has every right to walk back inside and forget he exists. But that's not who Patty is. She crosses the street, her footsteps quiet on the pavement. Gerald doesn't notice her until she's standing right next to him. When he looks up and sees her face, he freezes. The rag falls from his hand. His expression cycles through shame, fear, defiance, and finally resignation. They stand there in silence for a moment. The sound of water dripping. Cars passing in the distance. Patty reaches into her pocket and pulls out a sealed envelope.
She holds it out to him.
What's this? Gerald asks, his voice rough and quiet. Your name's on it, Patty says simply. Open it when you're ready. She doesn't wait for a response. She just turns and walks back across the street, back toward the warm lights of the cafe. Gerald stands there holding the envelope, confused and wary. After she's gone, he tears it open with trembling fingers. Inside is a check. Not made out to him, but to a local job training program. A donation receipt shows it's been made in his name. Under it is a handwritten note in Patty's careful script. Everyone deserves a second chance. I had mine. Now here's yours. The training program can help you find your path. What you do with it is up to you. PR. Gerald stares at the note for a long time. Then, slowly, he folds it and puts it in his pocket. He looks back at the cafe across the street, at the glowing sign, at Patty's silhouette visible through the window. Something shifts in his face. Not redemption. Not yet. But maybe the first seed of it. The recognition that kindness exists even for those who don't deserve it. Back inside Second Chances Cafe, Patty flips the sign on the door from closed to open for the morning shift. The sun is just starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Light streams through the clean windows, reflecting off the polished counter, making everything shine. She ties her apron, the new one with her name embroidered on it in elegant script, and stands behind the counter.
Her counter now.
Her cafe. Her second chance that became everyone else's second chance, too. The first customer of the morning pushes through the door, shaking rain from his jacket. It had started drizzling again overnight, soft and gentle this time. Not a storm, just a reminder that rain can wash things clean and help new things grow. Patty smiles, genuine and warm.
Good morning, she says.
Welcome to Second Chances Cafe. Can I get you started with some coffee? The man nods gratefully, settling onto a stool. I've heard amazing things about this place. We try our best, Patty says, pouring him a cup. We believe everyone who walks through that door deserves kindness, no matter who they are or where they come from. As she works, she glances out the window at the city, waking up. Construction workers heading to job sites. Nurses finishing night shifts. Students rushing to early classes. All kinds of people, each with their own struggles, their own storms to weather. And she thinks about that night 6 months ago. The night she almost didn't stop. The night she was tired and worried and had every reason to just keep driving. The night one small choice changed everything. William comes in through the back door, carrying a box of fresh pastries from the bakery down the street. "Morning, partner," he says with a grin. "Morning," Patty replies, and the words still feel surreal.
Partner.
6 months ago, she was a waitress, one paycheck away from losing her apartment. Now she's a business owner, an employer, someone whose name is on legal documents and newspaper articles. But more than that, she's proof. Proof that kindness isn't weakness. Proof that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when nobody's watching, even when you're scared and tired and have barely enough for yourself, doing the right thing matters. Throughout the morning, the cafe fills with regulars and newcomers alike. There's Mrs. Henderson, who comes in every Tuesday for oatmeal and to tell stories about her grandchildren. There's Jake, the college student who studies in the corner booth and always leaves exactly a 20% tip. There's the group of construction workers who order enough breakfast to feed an army and always thank the staff by name. They're all part of this place now. Part of the story that started in a storm. Around noon, a young woman walks in, nervous and clearly down on her luck. Her clothes are worn, her shoes have holes, and she clutches a crumpled newspaper with job listings circled in red pen. She sits at the counter and carefully counts out coins, enough for a cup of coffee. Patty watches her for a moment, seeing herself in that worried face. Then she pours the coffee and sets it down, along with a plate of eggs, toast, and fruit. "I didn't order food," the young woman says quickly. "I can't afford." "It's on the house," Patty says gently. "You look like you're having a hard day. Sometimes we all need a little kindness to keep going." The woman's eyes fill with tears. "Thank you," she whispers. "You have no idea what this means." "I think I do," Patty says with a knowing smile. "Eat up.
Take your time.
And if you need any help with those job applications, let me know. We might even be hiring." As the woman eats, gratitude radiating from every movement, William catches Patty's eye from across the room. He raises his coffee cup in a small salute. She nods back. This is what it's all about. Not the partnership papers or the press coverage or even the profit margins, though those help. It's about creating a place where people matter, where dignity is served alongside the daily special, where someone having the worst day of their life can walk in and leave feeling just a little bit more hopeful. The afternoon light shifts, golden and warm, filling the cafe with that special glow that only comes right before evening. Patty takes a moment to step back and just look around. At the full tables, at the smiling faces, at the staff working together like a family, at the sign in the window that reads Second Chances Cafe, where kindness is always on the menu. She thinks about Gerald across the street, scrubbing windshields, holding that envelope. She hopes he uses it. She hopes he finds his own second chance, not because he deserves her forgiveness, but because everyone deserves the chance to be better than their worst moment. And she thinks about that storm. How scary it was driving through the rain, seeing that stranger on the side of the road. How every logical part of her brain said to keep driving. How tired she was. How much easier it would have been to just go home. But she stopped. She stopped because that's who she was raised to be. That's who she chose to be, even when it was hard. And that one choice, that one moment of compassion in the dark, rippled outward in ways she never could have imagined. It saved William that night, yes. But it also saved her. It saved this cafe. It's saving everyone who walks through these doors and feels valued, seen, and worthy of kindness. As the evening rush begins and the cafe fills with the dinner crowd, Patty ties on a fresh apron and steps back behind the counter. There are orders to take, meals to serve, people to care for. And somewhere out there, on roads she'll never travel, in storms she'll never see, there are other strangers who need help. Other moments of choice where someone will have to decide. Do I stop? Do I help? Do I see this person as a human being who matters? Patty doesn't know who those people are or what choices they'll make. But she knows this. Every act of kindness matters. Every moment of compassion creates ripples. Every time you choose to see someone's humanity instead of looking away, you change the world just a little bit. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the world changes you right back. The neon sign flickers outside, bright and steady now. Second Chances Cafe. A beacon in the evening light. A promise that no matter who you are, no matter what you've been through, no matter how hard the storm is raging, there's a place where you matter. Where kindness is always on the menu. Where second chances aren't just given, they're celebrated. And where one woman's choice to help a stranger on a rainy night proved that sometimes the smallest acts of compassion can become the biggest moments of transformation. Patty looks out at the city, at the lights beginning to twinkle as darkness falls, and she smiles. Not because her life is perfect now. Not because every problem is solved or every struggle is over. She smiles because she knows something true and powerful. We are all just one act of kindness away from changing someone's life. Maybe even our own. And that makes every storm worth weathering. That makes every choice to stop, to help, to care worth making. Every single time.
The end.